I promised to do a video about the Pyxis 12K with the full rig, and this is it. This is the rig that I shot the Ceremonic We Talk 9X video with. That was the headset video that I shot at a live concert. And that rig, this rig, is what I shot my footage with that from. And it's too cool. I got to share all the little bits and pieces. So let me start with a very quick tour of everything that's on here, and then we'll get into disassembly and close-up and explanation of all the different parts. So quick tour to begin with. Obviously, basing this off of the Pyxis 12K. Nice big fat camera in here that shoots in 12K. Done quite a few videos about this guy. On this, I have the Swivel anamorphic 1.6x squeeze lens. This is a manual focus lens, not the autofocus ones. Then this is all surrounded with Kondor Blue rigging. We'll go through all the individual pieces as we take them apart. On the front, I've got the Kondor Blue filter system. I've got the Blackmagic standard monitor on here with the Kondor Blue handle. This is called the Talon. This is I love this handle. This is mounted onto there. I've got follow focus system on here because it's mechanical or manual focus. I do have an Xtreme follow focus system, which I've done a video on before. I'll link to that down below. It's quite a few years ago. I've got extra handles on here if you want to hold it like so. I've got timecode. I've got audio receiver. Of course, the power system, the Core SWX Snap power system, which we'll talk about. And I had, for this rigging, a Insta360 Ace Pro 2 rigged onto here. If you watched that video, you saw that every one of us on the crew had one of these pointing at us. So as I'm shooting, you've got a POV of me. That was kind of fun and cool. So that's the basics of it. Let's dive in. And I just realized the battery is on the charger, so hold on. All right, let's go through this piece by piece. We'll start at the front. This is the Kondor Blue filter system. I'll just go ahead and take this off. You can see that this is mounted directly to the lens. So this is not something that requires a rail. I'm sure you could rig it up on a rail system if you wanted to, but this is the way that it comes. So this simply slides on and locks into place. To lock that onto any lens, you've got a variety of adapters here for whatever size lens you might have. The filter system itself has quite a few moving parts, so let's go through those. This does have a cover on it, a flag. This is magnetically snaps down there, which is nice. I've got quite a few of these from different companies that don't magnetically snap, and they always end up like this, so kind of appreciate that. It's the little things. This can be removed. There is a flag release screw at the top, so we just undo those, slide that out. Now this is the single drop-in filter model. There are models that hold, I believe, up to 3 drop-in filters. I'm not sure if you can expand them. I'll figure that out and link to them down below if you can. By the way, everything here will be linked down below. But it's not just a single filter holder, it actually does hold 2. So let's start with the obvious and the removable one. Now if I try to take this out now, it's not going to come out because it's locked into place. If I unscrew this, now I can slide this out. So that's the filter holder. I'm going to use a cloth here so I don't get my fingerprints all over the filters. But to release this, all I have to do is pull up on this little guy here and then drop it out. That's that. Drop that back in. Oh, this, by the way, is a kind of a mist filter. This is the 116 Opaline Diffusion filter. So 116 Opaline, of course, Kondor Blue makes a ton of different filters, but this is the one that I've got on here. Let's get this back into place without fingerprints. So again, to lock it in, simply pull this up and it snaps down into place, and that's it. Now for the front filter, or the ND filter, you'll see that this one is not a drop-in, so this is meant to be more like your kind of permanent filter. Now, of course, I can have nothing here. I could have any filter here. I could put the Opaline there. Doesn't really matter, but I've got my ND in there to take that out. Again, I'll use the cloth so I don't get fingerprints on it. You'll see there's a little knob there that says filter release, so I just lift that up and tilt that guy out. So there's the complete set. Now, from here, if you want to take this apart further, you can. If I unlock these, this now slides apart. And this is where I say it might be expandable. I'm not totally sure. But because this one just holds one slot, I think you can add additional filter slots in here so you can stack more in. So that's up to you. Go ahead and slap this back into place. Lock that down with the 2 blue knobs. Get my ND back into place. Get the Opaline filter in place. Lock that in, drop the flag back in, lock that in, and we are good to go. Slide that on here, lock it in, and we're golden. Okay, Next up, let's go for, let's kind of start at the top down. So the monitor on here is just the Blackmagic monitor. Obviously, you could put a bigger one on here, but then you're not going to get all the touch functionality of the Blackmagic camera. So I've been using this monitor, even though it is a little bit on the small side, but it is very, very convenient. I've shown this one before. It has a nice little cover built in, so you can kind of cover that down, little sun rig on there, or sunshade on there rather. This is a single USB-C connection into the camera that gives it power, that gives it the video, and it gives it the control of the interface. So again, really, really like this monitor here. Now this is, as you saw, attached onto this handle. This is all, almost all, but this is all NATO rail. So if I unloosen that, then that just pops right off. Super easy there. If I loosen this, then this just pops right off like that. So very quickly disassemblable, reassemblable, modular, and so on. This handle, just set this guy aside, also on a NATO rail. So we'll open that, slide it off. This is the Talon. There's a couple different sizes of this. This is, like I said earlier, my favorite Kondor Blue handle. I love the shape of it. It has a really good, comfortable shape, comfortable grip to it. Obviously, you can attach things to the front, locks on quickly. It also has a trigger. Even though I'm not using it for this rig, if I run a cable from here, the appropriate cable into this camera, then I can stop recording from this as well. So I'll leave this off for now. In fact, I'm gonna take the monitor off completely just so that we can see things more clearly. And I guess now that I'm taking this apart, I probably should just go ahead and leave the filter off. So I'll take that off too. Okay, moving on. As I said, I have this Insta360 camera up here. Let's get this thing out of the way. This is just on one of the Kondor Blue Magic arms. These things, look, Magic arms are a dime a dozen. Good Magic arms are not. This is a good one. The way this thing works is there's basically a ball joint. It's got this little rubber seal on here, and that is what gives it the tension. So when I lock that down, this is going nowhere. It's so solid. I have a few of these. They make these in double length ones. It really, I mean, I've used a lot of Magic arms. This one just absolutely rocks. Super easy to lock in, nice big handle, no fiddly little knobs. It grips tight. And if these little rubber grommets wear out, tear, break, whatever, you can replace them. So I think it even comes with little replacements. Just slap that on, just undo this, pop that out, and away you go. So this is on here. I'm gonna quick release this thing off so the camera's out of the way. And I guess I'll leave this on here. I'll just tuck it down here. Now that we can see the top of this more clearly, let's have a look at the plates that are on here. So these are, I believe they're called quarter plates. They go onto the top in two halves. You can also put them on the bottom if you want to. I'm not using these on the bottom, just have them on the top. And this gives you just a ton of additional mounting options. Now, I know that some people had been concerned that the vents, which are here on the Pyxis, would be getting blocked by this. That is not the case. The camera does not overheat. The ventilation is just fine. You can also see spirit levels on here, nice little touch, and just a ton of different mounting options, ARRIs, there's NATO rails, there's obviously quarter 20s and so on. I have a tiny little NATO rail added to the side of this. That was to mount a boom microphone, which I ended up not using, so it's not in use right now, but I left that little guy here. You'll also see attached to this is this post, which is what my follow focus system is mounted on. This is kind of cool. Let me undo, see, actually, I'll probably undo this first. Unplug that, get that out of the way. So that, again, is the follow focus by Xtreme. Older model, I've had this for years. I did a video on this back when I lived in America. I'll be sure to link to that down below. It's actually one of my favorite productions from that era. So really cool piece. Anyway, that's on there. That is mounted to this rod, which if I unscrew that, this rod comes out. And then you go, well, how is this whole thing attached to here? It's just this tiny little rod deal. Using my Kondor Blue multi-tool here. And this is simply a rod holder that's on this little tiny post, just a quarter 20 bolt in there, slide that in, and screw this on. You can see that this has anti-twist pins on it, so this will just lock right into place. I'm gonna go ahead and put that back in, but before I do, you can see a close-up here of how that locks in. So just slide that into place, and away you go, and now, of course, I can put that rod back in. These little blue things up here are called MondoTies. This is another Kondor Blue product that is actually developed in cooperation with Armando from MondoBytes channel. These are awesome. They just hold all your cables in place so they're not flapping around everywhere. Super awesome. All right, let's go to this side. There's not a whole lot on here, so we'll start with that. The control side, oh look, the camera's on. This has my follow focus controller mounted to it. This is a wireless controller. This again is part of the Xtreme thing. This is mounted with its own piece. So this can just mount to anything. Obviously quarter 20s in there and this slides on. You can position this anywhere or remove it because it's wireless and still control the camera. So if you're rigging this on a tripod and you want to just stand back and control the follow focus, you can do that. The magic arm, as I said before, is just bolted into the side of that. I'm going to take this off so that we can flip this on its side a bit more easily. There we go. So here, underneath these two items that are mounted in, these are just mounted in via cold shoes, which was one of my very few complaints about the Pyxis 12K is it has no cold shoes. There's this like weird thing you can put onto it to strap things on, but it's got no cold shoes. You're like, come on, man, everybody needs a cold shoe. So this plate, this side plate on here, which I also said in an earlier video that this side plate is one of the only critical things to add, I think, to the Pyxis 12K, gives us those cold shoes. So I've got this handle on here. Let's actually, before I take the handle off, let me show you how this works. Let me slide the Talon back on here. So this side handle is so cool because of how it moves. If I need to rotate this, I simply push on this lever and rotate down. So this means that I can position this handle wherever I want very quickly. And depending on your rig, you might have two of these side by side. So if I want a kind of a top-down holding, if I want it to be this way, if I want it to be down here, whatever, it's very quick and easy to move. So in any rig that I build, I almost always have one of these on here because it is just so flexible. And I found that these are awesome. I love having these. I have a couple of them. Sometimes I've got one of these on either side of the camera. In this case, one on the top, one on the side. Configuration can be whatever you want, but I think these are awesome. All right, so let me take this off. And here you can see the DEITY timecode adapter. Let me just unscrew that. That is in the cold shoe. Actually, it's a Velcro on first and then the cold shoe. Makes that a little easier. So that's all this is. See, cold shoe mount, this is slapped in, and then the DEITY timecode is on Velcro, so gotta love that. And then over here, I've got a Hollyland microphone receiver. This mic receiver, the reason that I use this one, this is the Hollyland LARK MAX 2. The reason I use this one on this production is because this can hook up to 4 wireless microphones at once. So you can have 4 wireless mics connected. So you buy 2 of the kits basically, or I think you can buy it with 4 mics initially. And then you've got 4 mics that are feeding in. Now those are going to be muxed to a single channel. If you're using 2, then you can have them split. But those microphones also have internal 32-bit float recording. So that to me is fantastic. Now there is timecode syncing between the microphone and the camera if you are feeding timecode into the camera, but I was feeding timecode in with this, which means that the timecode on the microphones did not match the timecode here. There is unfortunately no way to do that. I've talked to Hollyland at length about this. This is not meant to be a high-end timecode generator like the DEITY or like an Atomos or I wanted to say Octopus, like a Tentacle Sync would be, but it's really made for its own internal system, not super accurate. So I didn't use it for this. So I just had audio and I synced via waveform. Anyway, so this guy is just slapped into here, pop that off, and you can see again the cold shoe. So coming back down to this, now that we're at this bare plate here is, I think, one of the most kind of critical add-ons to this system. If you buy nothing else, get this plate. This is where the Blackmagic's own very simple plastic plate with a Velcro strap on it would go. It's a bit silly. This also has a NATO rail on it. Okay, I'm gonna put this back in here so I don't lose track of too many things. Let's see here. On the bottom, you can see just a tripod plate, so nothing fancy about that. Standard Manfrotto plate, so you can put this thing up on a tripod. And then let's look at the cabling on the back. So here we've got power. Power to this camera is via LEMO. It starts with an L, LEMO pin, and that is plugged into there. And then the other end of this is going to DTAP, which is plugged into the battery contraption. We'll come back to that contraption in a moment. Then let's see what else is plugged in here. So time code coming in from the DEITY, and I guess that, and then the audio from the Hollyland is plugged in back there somewhere. That brings us to power. So let's talk about how this whole thing is powered up. Now, as I said in the beginning, this is using the core SWX power. So let me come back to the actual power system and talk about the connection to it. So don't look right now. I don't want you to see this part yet because it's really cool. We're going to save that for later. This is Kondor Blue's own power station, if you will. This mounts on, if I undo these, This is mounted on with a rail system. I'll slide that off. There we go. So rail mount here, this can be tilted in or out. This one's black. I usually get everything in the Kondor Blue gray, but black was all we had. And then this piece that's added on here is part of the power station from Core SWX, so we'll come back to that as well. So normally you would have this, a standard V-mount battery. You pop that battery on. This has a ton of different connections to it. So you've got the D-tap, which is reversible. So depending on which way you happen to need to run your wires. And then you got a variety of other outputs, PD, 12 volt and 8 volt. Let's see, there's a special pin on the bottom for connecting to a whole other system. There's another PD in and out on the top. There's a bunch of different ways to do this. Now, as I pointed out, this attached with rails, but we don't have rails on this camera. So much like that front post where I had this guy attached, on the back, we have these two itty bitty little rails. Let's get this power plug out of the way. These two itty bitty little rails that are essentially attached the same way. They are just screwed in. So this is just a little post with, again, an anti-twist pin. So you just screw that in. So just like the one on the front, I just pop this in. Doesn't matter which pin I drop it into, and lock that into place. And that gives me these two short, stubby little rods, which is what I needed for the battery system to connect to. So battery system slaps onto there, and that's that. Now again, normally you would just put on a V-mount battery. However, I'm now using this Core SWX snap system. So here's what's so cool about this. Now you might have seen this before. These are magnets, and this magnetically attaches to whatever you're attaching it to. If you look at the bottom, you'll see it's got a bunch of contacts on here. That's where all your power comes through. But this on its own is not compatible with this, right? These things don't go together. So you can adapt this to anything or anything V-mount by using one of these plates. So this is V-mount on the back. You see it looks like a V-mount battery, but this is not a battery. It then has the magnets and the contacts on this side. So to attach this together, I simply take these two, snap that on like I would any other battery, and then this battery just magnetically snaps on. Now, if this is a bigger one, so it's got a lock on it, so it cannot come off. This is a physical locking system. You can kind of see the little guys coming out of here, but these are little feet that grab on, so this will, again, magnetically snap on, and then it grabs into place. This system isn't just about the magnets. The magnets make it really cool and convenient and obviously fast to change batteries. But here's what makes this so special. This is stackable. So let's say that this is running low on juice. I'm in the middle of a shot. I can't shut down, or I simply don't want to. Shutting down a rig like this is not just a flip a button. There's a bunch of different things you got to turn off, and that likely means you may have to calibrate things again when you turn it back on, like the follow focus system. That may have to be recalibrated. So power cycling is not a trivial thing to do. I don't want to power cycle, but I need more power. Well, you can take another battery, and this is a smaller one, and slap that onto there, and now this is powering through here. It's pass-through power. Phenomenal system. I absolutely love this. Now, these batteries themselves have a variety of ports. So there's DTAP and PD. That green one is a locking PD. It's their own PD Pro, they call it. It's kind of their own proprietary locking system. You can just plug in any USB cable, but they have USB cables that are locking that can snap into that. This has DTAPs on it as well. This is just a really, really cool system. Now, kind of side note to the whole Pyxis thing, if you think this is cool and you like this, but you're like, I just shoot with, regular cameras, I don't have V-mount and all that, you can still do that. So this plate on here is just a plastic plate, nothing fancy with magnets on it. This is just bolted to the bottom of my camera where the tripod would go. So now to do this, you couldn't put this on a tripod, but for a handheld rig, this is not any kind of pass-through power. You see there's no contacts on here. It is just a plate, but I can now take this battery and snap that on. So now I could power my camera via USB. I could put a dummy battery in here and power it via DTAP, whatever your rigging might be. But this allows you to put a battery on here. It supports the lock as well. So if I put that in, this is fully locked in. Or if you're using smaller batteries that don't need the lock just because they're light enough weight, then there you go. So this system, super, super flexible and useful. Love it. Okay. I think I covered it all. It's a mess now. I gotta put it all back together. This is so cool. I am very sad that I'm going to have to send this Pyxis 12K back to Blackmagic soon. All the rigging from Kondor Blue is on loan as well, so that I could show this to you, except for a couple pieces that are mine. But the plates on here are all going back to them. It's really a fantastic system. If you see me shooting with this more in the future, then that's because I managed to talk somebody into either sending me another one on loan or kept this one for a little bit longer. So that's the rigging. If you got any questions about it, drop them down below. I will put links to all the different pieces down there because this is a lot. And yeah, it's awesome. So that's that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Be sure to subscribe, tell a friend, hit that like button, all that. All right.